This monitor was released way back 2019, that's 2 to 3 years ago in case you lost track of time because of the damn pandemic. And ever since then, it has been reviewed a lot, received lots of praises, and I think rightfully so. It's a great monitor. But it's 2022 and there have been a number of monitors released since then that also pack the same punch for the same amount of money. So picking the LG 27UL550 isn't such an easy and sure thing to do as it used to be. I recently got this monitor and after using it for 2-3 weeks, I'm very much happy with my choice. But I wanted to share things that I think are worth thinking about before dropping some cash for this monitor. Then I'll show you other monitors that are worth considering at a more or less around the same price. Okay, first and foremost, after seeing it with my own eyes, I think 27-inch is too small for 4K, which means you'll most likely scale the display such that the UI looks like 1440p or anything near that resolution. When you scale, you lose the screen real estate benefit of having a 4K panel and running it at native 4K. But the good thing is, even if you scale, you still get sharp image thanks to the actual 4K physical panel with 4K pixels. Some argue that scaling 1440p on a 4K panel would cause a little bit of reduction in sharpness, and they argue that you'd much rather buy a 1440p and run natively without scaling. However, I saw this video where he compared his 1440p monitor and a 4K monitor scaled to 1440p, and the text on the 4K panel scaled to 1440p still looks sharper than the 1440p panel running natively. Please note that my discussion here is mainly focused on work and productivity, so that's more on text clarity, image clarity. But when it comes to gaming, I would also say that 1440p plus a higher refresh rate is the probably best bang for the buck for a 27-inch monitor. To add to the discussion, here's a pixel close-up comparison of my previous monitor, a 27-inch TinyDP Dell 2719H, compared to the 27-inch 4K LG 27UL550. But all in all, it depends on you, your eyesight, what screen size, resolution, and pixel density you're used to, how your desk is set up or how close you sit to your monitor, and what type of work you do. In my case, I have settled to a 1440p scaling, which in my opinion strikes the perfect balance between real estate, readability, and sharpness. But it's still not as sharp as the built-in Retina monitor on the MacBook Pro, which has almost double the pixel density. I tried running at native 4K and also at this weird resolution that Mac offers, which is 3008 by 1692, but I felt like it was fatigued because I think that things are really just unnaturally small to me. I sit roughly 25 to 30 inches away from my monitor and I do code, design, and video editing, so text sharpness, color accuracy, and screen real estate are a big deal to me. Second major point, thick bezels. It's got a dark gray half-inch bezels on all sides, which make it look a little bit cheap and less aesthetic compared to other monitors in the same price range that has those virtually bezel-less or frameless design on 3 out of 4 sides. Look at the difference in bezels here. I don't know why it's like this, if it's a limitation because of the panel or it's a deliberate design decision, since you know the 5XX tier or 500 tier on the LG monitor is like the entry-level tier. I've read something interesting about the bezels from an in-depth review by NCX. I put a link on the description if you want to read it, but essentially what he said was that because of the dark gray bezels all around the display, the perceived black depth is improved. Sort of like an optical perception thing when it comes to contrast, and this results in an overall slightly improved image quality. But this benefit of an increased black depth is gone when you're in a dark room because, well, we can see the dark bezels around contrasting between the commonly and usually white wall behind your monitor and the thing that is displayed on the display itself. This bezel reminds me of the LG 5K display that Apple was selling. A lot of creatives praised that monitor for the really good 5K panel, great contrast, great color quality, but you know, they just had to like deal with the bezel because the focus there was the panel, and that's what I'm doing here. At this price point, this panel is really good. I just get, you know, the bezels, they just disappear when you start using the monitor because you're like focused on what you're doing, and the panel really does a great job at that. Alright, another thing, this monitor doesn't have USB-A ports at the back. Many monitors these days at around this price point has around 2 to 4 USB-A ports at the back, and that's really convenient because with that you can plug bias lighting on the back of your monitor, you can plug your webcam there, you can plug the wireless receiver for your mouse and keyboard, and it just makes your whole setup really clean and streamlined. And lastly, the joystick. I still don't feel strongly about the joystick. Some people hate it, some people don't, but I think it's great that the controls are consolidated in one input interaction point. You have one button to think about. What I don't like though is to adjust the brightness, you have to go through 4 clicks before reaching the brightness slider. I adjust my brightness at least twice a day, and this is just like a slight bummer because on my old Dell, it would just take me 2 clicks to reach the slider. But I don't think this is purely a joystick problem. This could have been fixed with a menu restructuring. But yeah, it is what it is. Alright, so what are the other monitors worth looking at that is around the same price and that has around the same focus as the 27UL550? So for my research before pulling the trigger on the LG, I considered the following 3 monitors. First is the AOC U28P2U, Dell S2717DS, and Dell S2721QS. Let's break it down real quick just to jumpstart you guys on these other options. The AOC U28P2U is a really compelling option, I'll tell you that. It's 28 inches instead of 27 inch. It's 4K 60Hz that can do 116 sRGB, which covers more than the Dells and LG mentioned at this price range. It has 4 USB 3.2 Gen 1 ports, and it's got a banger design. Honestly, I almost pulled the trigger on this one. It's a really compelling option. Then there's the Dell S2717DS, a 1440p 75Hz monitor, and the Dell S2721QS, a 4K 60Hz version. Aside from the panel difference, their stand, connectivity, and design are essentially the same. Ultimately, I factored in first and foremost my budget. How much cash was I willing to spend on this one? Second, my needs based on what I mentioned earlier, my priorities, what I'm gonna use it for. Third, my wants. For example, what brand do I want to try next? Because when we have Dell now, maybe I want to try LG or AOC. Next is the track record and my comfort level with the brand. And lastly, the quality of post-sales customer service and warranty of the brand with respect to your region, because unfortunately, it differs per region. That's it. Let me know what you think in the comments, and if this was helpful, hit the like button so others can find this video. If you enjoyed this video, consider subscribing, and you can also follow me on Instagram. That's it. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.